what if the key to building safer, more aligned AI isn't in Silicon Valley, but in ancient Athens? Yeah, you heard me right. We're going to see how a philosopher from 2,400 years ago might just give us the perfect playbook for our future with AI. It's pretty wild. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so we've got to start with the biggest question of all, right? When we're building these amazing, powerful AI systems, what's the point? What's the end goal? Is it just making things faster, more efficient, or is there something more we should be shooting for? Something, well, more human. And believe it or not, our guide for this super modern problem is the Greek philosopher Aristotle. I know, it sounds a little out there, but it turns out his ideas aren't just for, dusty old books. They're actually an incredibly practical toolkit for the exact problems we're dealing with today. All right, first things first, we have to figure out the goal. I mean, before we can even begin to talk about building a good AI, we all need to get on the same page about what good even means here. And that brings us to our first big idea from Aristotle. It's a concept called telos. Now, telos is basically the idea that everything has an ultimate purpose, a proper function. It's what something is for. And Aristotle had a really simple way of explaining this. Think about a knife. What's a knife for? Well, its function, its telos, is to cut. So a dull knife, one that can't cut, it's failing at its most basic job. You could even say it's a bad knife. Makes sense, right? Super simple. Okay, so let's take that exact same logic and apply it to AI. What is the telos of a good AI? Is its only job to spit out text or make cool images? Is it to maximize how long we stay glued to a screen? Or is there a bigger, more important purpose we should be designing for? And this is where it gets really interesting, because Aristotle has a powerful answer. For him, the ultimate telos, the final goal for us humans, is something he called eudaimonia. It's this beautiful idea of human flourishing, living a good, full, meaningful life. So the argument goes, if that's our goal, then the proper function of AI, its telos, should be to help us get there, to support human flourishing above everything else. Okay, great. So the goal is human flourishing. But how do we actually make sure AI stays on track? How do we keep it from going off the rails? Well, we need guardrails. And that brings us to our second big idea from Aristotle. And this is a famous one you might have heard of, the golden mean. The basic idea here is that being virtuous, or good, isn't about going to extremes. It's about finding that perfect balance, that sweet spot right in the middle of two bad extremes, or what he called vices. His classic example, and it's a great one, is courage. Think about it. Courage is the virtue, the golden mean. On one end of the spectrum, you have cowardice. That's not enough confidence. On the other extreme, you have recklessness. That's way too much confidence. Courage is that perfect balance right in the middle. Okay, now check this out. This is where it really clicks. Let's apply that exact same framework to a massive modern AI headache, content moderation, right? On one side, you have an AI that censors absolutely nothing. That's recklessness. On the other, you have an AI that censors everything. That's cowardice. The virtuous AI, the one we want, finds that golden mean. Balanced, thoughtful moderation. It's a perfect fit. So we've got a goal, human flourishing, and we've got guardrails, the golden mean. But that leaves a pretty big question. How does an AI actually learn to be virtuous? I mean, how does it build that kind of character in the first place? Well, you guessed it, Aristotle had an answer for that too. He said that virtue, or excellence, isn't something you're just born with. Nope, it's an art. It's something you learn through training and just doing it over and over again. It becomes a habit. We are what we repeatedly do. And bam, there it is. The connection to AI is so clear. If we are what we repeatedly do, then you could say an AI is what it repeatedly reads. Its training data literally becomes its character. You feed it a diet of garbage, you're going to get a garbage AI. It's that simple. So, okay, where does this training and habit forming come from? For us humans, Aristotle said we learn by watching other good people he called moral exemplars. We see how they act, we see their virtues in action, and we try to copy them. We learn by example. And this is the crucial part for AI. In that whole training process, the humans, the ones who are labeling the data, ranking the answers, basically guiding the AI on what's good and what's bad, they are the moral exemplars. The AI is learning its virtue directly from them. And you know what's incredible? We have a fancy, modern, technical name for this 2,400-year-old idea. It's called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF for short. It is literally the process of an AI learning how to behave by getting feedback from its human teachers. It's Aristotle's idea, just with a techie name. All right, let's pull all these threads together now in our final takeaway. Because when you see it all laid out, it really shines a spotlight on our role in all of this. So here it is, the Aristotelian toolkit for AI. First, what's the goal? Eudaimonia, human flourishing. Second, what are the guardrails? The golden mean, finding that perfect balance. And third, how do we train it? Through habituation, by having the AI learn from us its moral exemplars using RLHF. It's a complete framework. And why does this matter so much? Because it completely changes the conversation. It lifts us out of just talking about processing power and parameters and efficiency. This ancient philosophy gives us a much richer, much more human-focused way to talk about something as critical as AI alignment. And that leaves us with one final, kind of heavy question to chew on. If these incredibly powerful AI systems are learning their character by watching and imitating us, by seeing us as their moral exemplars, then we have to stop and ask ourselves a really hard question. What virtues and what vices are we actually teaching them? Definitely something to think about.